They say you never really own land. You just lease it from the universe. But in my case, the universe wore a polo shirt and called itself the Willow Creek Ranch. Oh, I bought my ranch outright. 15 acres of open country with rolling hills, 2 barns, and a patch of wildflowers that'd make Bob Ross weep. It was mine. Or so I thought. It started with a letter. Thick envelope, HOA seal. I almost tossed it. Thought it was just another newsletter about approved mailbox heights or something equally asinine. But nope. Inside was a legal declaration. My ranch had been reclassified as community green space. Apparently, due to some obscure clause and a recent board vote, held without me, they decided my land better serve the community as a shared resource. Translation? My property was now free range for HOA wine nights, dog meetups, and possibly goat yoga. And the worst part? They actually opened a gate on my southern fence line. A literal welcome sign followed. That was the moment I realized these people didn't just want control. They thought they had it. What they didn't know is I'm a third-generation rancher. We don't play chicken, we build fences. Electrified ones. But before the sparks flew, literally, things got way worse than a gate and a sign. Because their next move, it nearly got someone hurt. And that was when I stopped being polite. My ranch sits just outside a newly built upscale community. McMansions with Tesla solar tiles, 0 lot lines, and way too much white trim. I've lived here since my dad passed it to me. Well before the HOA ever poured their first driveway. At first, they kept their distance. They'd wave politely when driving by. A couple even asked to buy eggs from me. But the HOA board? Different story. Enter Meredith, the board president. Think Lululemon meets litigation. She drove a matte Range Rover, wore those oversized sunglasses indoors, and spoke like every word was a closing argument. Mr. Tucker, she began during our first real chat, we're very interested in working together for the benefit of the community. Which was HOA speak for, you're in the way. Apparently, new buyers were being shown renderings of future community assets, and my ranch, my home, was circled in green. When I asked where exactly they got the idea that they could touch my land, Meredith smiled. It's all in the bylaws. You should really read them. The next week, I found HOA landscapers on my property, planting non-native shrubs along my fence line. No heads up, no request. I confronted them, got a shrug and a "we're just following orders." Then came the gate. Then came the foot traffic. Kids biking through my cattle pasture. Yoga mats laid out by my horse. Barn. Someone even tied balloons to my front gate for a toddler's birthday party. That was just the beginning. I installed signs, private property, no trespassing, and a particularly blunt one, step foot here and you better be ready to shovel manure. Meredith called them aggressive. I called them legally binding. But the signs didn't stop them. If anything, they seemed to provoke more. I started finding HOA-issued flyers, left in my mailbox. Join us in reclaiming the commons. One featured a stock image of my barn with pastel fonts and bubble letters. They issued me citations. First for unsightly fencing, then for excessive animal presence. One even accused me of violating community aesthetic norms. I reminded them, I'm not in the HOA. My property predates their charter, but they claimed I was within influence range, whatever that meant. Things got more surreal. Someone left. Gluten-free muffins on my porch, labeled, "Thanks for sharing the space." One morning, I caught a man flying a drone over my property, filming my livestock. He claimed he was documenting usage patterns for equitable community access. That was the last straw. I filed a police report. They shrugged. Civil matter. I went to a lawyer. He laughed at their influence clause. But legal action would take months. And then one night, I woke to headlights sweeping across my pasture. 2 teenagers, members of a newly formed community trail committee, decided to carve a hiking path through my alfalfa field. They spooked my horses. One of the boys got kicked. Luckily, not serious. But that was it. I wasn't going to wait for someone to get hurt, or worse. It was time to push back, and I knew exactly how. Not with lawsuits. With voltage, I called up a buddy of mine, Joe, ex-electrician, built half the fences in the county. Together, we mapped out the perimeter and got to work. First, heavy-duty electrified fencing, completely legal in rural zones. Warning signs every 10 feet. Solar-powered. Low amp, but enough to make you never try twice. Second, surveillance. Trail cams hidden in birdhouses. Thermal sensors near the south gate. Motion lights by the barn. Third, paper trail. I posted notices in the local paper, notified the sheriff's office, and sent formal letters to the HOA declaring the land private, non-community, and under active protection. Then I waited. The day after the install, I got a visit from, you guessed it, Meredith. She pulled up, lips pursed so tight they could slice bread. "You've created a hostile environment," she hissed. I gestured at the sign. "Electric fence. Do not touch. Property owner not liable." She threatened to sue. I smiled and handed her a copy of the state zoning laws and the HOA's own charter, which explicitly said, non-member parcels are outside their jurisdiction. That's when her confidence cracked. Then came the HOA meeting. I showed up, invited by a sympathetic neighbor. When they tried to paint me as a rogue actor, I rolled up with evidence, photos, flyers, timestamps. Neighbors gasped. The balloon party? Unauthorized. The drone? Illegal. The boys? Lucky. And then my final blow. I announced I was opening my ranch once a year for a paid Heritage Day event. Entry, $20, proceeds to a local animal rescue. Public roared with applause. "Meredith!" She turned ghost white. The HOA backed off, fast. Meredith quietly stepped down, for personal reasons. The flyers vanished. The gate was taken down. But the best moment? One afternoon, a few of the same neighbors who once trespassed returned, this time to apologize. One guy even donated to the rescue, and when the next HOA vote came up to explore community expansion, it was overwhelmingly struck down. Seems nobody wanted to mess with the rancher with the electric fences. I still remember the last thing I told Meredith before she drove off. This land's been in my family for 3 generations. I won't be the one who lets it go soft. She didn't respond. But the silence? That was victory. Sometimes justice doesn't come in a courtroom. Sometimes it hums quietly, through 12-gauge copper wire. These days, things are quieter. My cattle roam in peace. No more yoga mats in my hay barn. And every so often, I see new HOA residents stop by the fence line, admiring from a distance. Respectfully, I let them. There's a balance between community and boundaries. But let me be clear, if you try to take what isn't yours, no matter how many meetings or muffins you bring, there will be consequences. Real ones. Because property isn't just land. It's legacy. It's roots. And sometimes the best way to protect that legacy is with a well-grounded fence and a whole lot of volts. So if you made it this far, comment "Justice served" below. Or let me know, what would you have done if an HOA tried to steal your land? And remember, if someone tries to walk all over you, make sure they know. They might not like the shock they get.